Welcome to our YouTube channel, The Alien Tales, and please ensure that you have subscribed.
Her species mates for life. I never told her I'm dying. One touch bonded us eternally. Our souls are intertwined across dimensions. How do I tell her that human bodies aren't meant to last? The diplomatic reception hall buzzed with alien languages I'd spent 3 years learning. As Earth's xenolinguist, I was supposed to facilitate first contact with the Kaelthani, a species whose homeworld orbited twin suns, whose skin shimmered like mother of pearl, and whose eyes held depths that seemed to contain entire galaxies. I'd memorized their customs, their greeting rituals, their taboos. What I hadn't prepared for was her. Zephyra moved through the crowd like liquid starlight, her elongated limbs graceful beyond human comprehension. The translucent ridges along her neck pulsed with soft lavender light, a sign of curiosity, according to my research. When the Terran ambassador introduced us, she extended her hand in the human fashion, a gesture of respect for our customs. "Dr. Marcus Webb," I said, reaching out instinctively. The moment our palms touched, the universe exploded. Every atom in my body sang. Colors beyond the visible spectrum flooded my vision. I felt her consciousness merge with mine, her memories, her emotions, her very essence intertwining with my soul. The sensation was terrifying and beautiful, like being struck by lightning while drowning in warm honey. We stood frozen, hands clasped, as energy crackled between us. The reception hall fell silent. Even the Kaelthani delegation stepped back, their ridge-lights flashing in what I now recognized as shock. Zephyra's galaxy-deep eyes widened, and through our new connection, I felt her realization mirror my own horror. We had bonded. Among her people, this was sacred, permanent, eternal. I was a dead man walking, and I just condemned the most beautiful being in the universe to a lifetime of grief. The medical bay aboard the diplomatic vessel hummed with alien technology. Zephyra sat beside my examination table, her bioluminescent ridges now pulsing in rhythm with my heartbeat, a side effect of our bond that both fascinated and terrified me. "The neural pathways are fully integrated," Dr. Helena Reese announced, setting down her scanner. "Whatever happened during your contact, it's created a permanent psychic link. Your brainwaves are synchronized." Zephyra spoke in her musical language, and somehow, impossibly, I understood every word. "She's asking about the duration," she said through our mental connection. "How long human bonds typically last." Helena's expression darkened. She'd been my doctor for 5 years, ever since the diagnosis. "Marcus, you haven't told her about—"
No.
The word came out sharper than intended. Through our link, I felt Zephyra's confusion, her gentle probing at the edges of my emotional barriers. "What duration?" she asked aloud, her accent making the English words musical. Helena looked between us, understanding dawning in her eyes. "In human culture, marriage vows say until death do us part. But that's just ceremonial language." I closed my eyes, feeling Zephyra's contentment wash over me. To her, our bond was a gift, a cosmic miracle that her people experienced perhaps once in a millennium. Among the Kaelthani, bonded pairs lived for centuries together, their life forces intertwined, their souls sharing strength across dimensions. She didn't know that I had maybe 6 months left. The cancer had been dormant for years, held at bay by treatments that were becoming less effective. My body was failing, and now I dragged her into my terminal decline. "Forever?" I whispered, hating myself for the lie. 3 weeks into our bond, I learned that Kaelthani couples didn't just share thoughts. They shared dreams. I found myself standing on her homeworld, Kael'thos, beneath twin suns that painted the crystalline landscape in shades of amber and rose. The air tasted of cinnamon and ozone. Beside me, Zephyra appeared as her true self. Not the careful, diplomatic version she showed humans, but wild and luminous, her ridges blazing with joy. "This is where I was born," she said, gesturing to a spiraling tower that seemed to grow from the living rock. "Where I first touched the stars through meditation." In the dream, I could feel her people's connection to the cosmos, how they drew energy from stellar radiation, how their consciousness could touch distant worlds. It was beautiful and utterly alien. "Show me your birthplace," she whispered. The scene shifted. We stood in my childhood backyard in Ohio, autumn leaves crunching under our feet. The mundane setting felt embarrassingly small after her cosmic vista. "It's peaceful," she said, and I felt her genuine appreciation through our bond. "Your species finds meaning in small things. In temporary things." The word hit like a physical blow. Temporary. She was beginning to understand human mortality in ways that terrified me. "Zephyra, there's something—" "I feel your fear," she interrupted, her mental voice soft. "There are shadows in your thoughts, places you won't let me see." I woke gasping, the dream dissolving around us. In the bed beside me, Zephyra stirred, her ridges flickering with concern. "The shadows are growing stronger," she murmured. "The first seizure hit during a diplomatic dinner. One moment I was translating trade negotiations between the Terran Commerce Guild and the Kaelthani Council. The next, I was on the floor, my body convulsing as electrical storms raged through my brain. Through our bond, Zephyra experienced every moment of it. The disorientation, the terror, the searing pain that felt like my skull was splitting apart. Her scream echoed mine, her ridges flashing distress signals that sent the entire alien delegation into panic. When consciousness returned, I found her kneeling beside me, her hands pressed against my temples. Cool energy flowed from her touch, soothing the jagged aftermath of the seizure. "The neural pathways," she whispered, her voice broken. "Something is wrong with your neural pathways." Dr. Reese arrived with her medical team, scanners whirring. The readings made her face go ashen. "The tumor has grown," she said quietly. "It's pressing against your brainstem now. Marcus, we need to discuss options." "Tumor," Zephyra's voice cracked. Through our bond, I felt her world shatter. "What tumor?" The medical bay fell silent except for the hum of life support systems. Zephyra's ridges had gone completely dark, something I'd never seen before. "Zephyra, I can explain. You're dying." It wasn't a question. Through our mental link, she was accessing memories I tried to wall off. Doctor visits, test results, the original diagnosis 3 years ago. "I wanted to tell you, but you bonded with me anyway." Her voice was hollow, echoing with a pain that transcended physical sensation. "Knowing you would leave me." I reached for her, but she pulled away, severing our physical connection for the first time since we'd met. The absence of her touch felt like losing a limb. Zephyra's people arrived within days. A medical vessel that dwarfed our diplomatic ship, its bioluminescent hull pulsing like a cosmic heartbeat. The Healing Consortium, she called them through our strained mental link. Her species' most advanced medical practitioners. I lay in their crystalline medical bay, surrounded by technology that seemed grown rather than built. Translucent vines studded with sensors wound around my body, feeding data to healers whose ridges glowed with concentration. "The neural growth is aggressive," the lead healer, Corvain, announced. His mental voice carried the weight of centuries. "But not beyond our capabilities. We can extract it without damaging the surrounding tissue." Hope fluttered in my chest until I saw Zephyra's expression. "There's more," she said aloud, her first words to me in 3 days. Corvain's ridges shifted to a somber blue. "The process requires integration with Kaelthani bioneural networks. Your cellular structure would need to be modified, enhanced. You would no longer be entirely human." The words hung in the air like a guillotine blade. "What does that mean?" I asked. "Life extension," Corvain replied. "Centuries instead of decades. Your consciousness would exist partially in our dimensional space, sustained by stellar energy like our own people." Through our bond, I felt Zephyra's desperate hope warring with her guilt. She wanted to save me, but she also knew what she was asking. "The choice is yours," Corvain said, "but know that the transformation is irreversible. You would become something between human and Kaelthani, neither fully one nor the other." I looked at Zephyra, her beautiful, alien face wet with tears that sparkled like liquid starlight. "Would you still love me?" I whispered. "Would you still be you?" she whispered back. That night, we walked through the ship's observation deck, Earth spinning slowly below us. Zephyra had barely spoken since the medical consultation, her ridges flickering with conflicted emotions I could feel but not fully understand. "Tell me about your family," she said suddenly. The request surprised me. Through our bond, She'd glimpsed fragments of my memories, but I'd kept most of my past carefully compartmentalized. My parents died when I was 12, I said.
Car accident.
I lived with my aunt until college. Siblings, a sister, Sarah. We don't talk much anymore. The understatement tasted bitter. Sarah had stopped visiting after my diagnosis, unable to handle watching me die slowly. If you transform, Zephyra said quietly, you would outlive everyone you've ever known, everyone you've ever loved. The weight of it hit me like a physical blow. My colleagues, my few friends, the barista who knew my coffee order, the neighbor who fed my cat when I traveled. All of them would age and die while I remained, sustained by alien technology and stellar radiation. But you would live, she continued, her voice breaking. We would have centuries together. I could show you wonders beyond human imagination. We could explore the galaxy, touch the minds of species yet undiscovered, and I would watch humanity evolve and change without me. Watch Earth become something I no longer recognize. She turned to face me, her galaxy-deep eyes reflecting the stars. Is love enough to justify such a choice? I thought of her people's bonding rituals, their belief that mated pairs were two halves of one soul. In their culture, my death would mean her spiritual destruction, a wound that might never heal across her extended lifespan. Is love enough to justify trapping someone in a choice between two kinds of loss? I countered. We stood in silence, watching our world spin beneath us, both beautiful and fragile in the cosmic dark. The transformation chamber resembled a chrysalis made of living crystal, its walls pulsing with bioelectric energy. I'd spent 3 days in preparation, fasting, meditation, allowing Kaelthani healers to map every neural pathway in my brain. Dr. Reese stood beside the chamber, her expression grim. The tumor has spread since last week. If you're going to do this, it has to be now. Through our bond, I felt Zephyra's terror. Not of losing me, but of what I might become, and what she might lose in the saving. The procedure will take 18 hours, Corvain explained. During that time, your consciousness will exist in a liminal state between human and Kaelthani awareness. Some who undergo the transformation report experiencing the collective memory of our species. What does that mean? You may see our history, our culture, our deepest thoughts and fears. It can be overwhelming for a human mind. I looked at Zephyra, her ridges dark with anxiety. Will I still love you the same way? I don't know, she whispered. Kaelthani love is different from human love. Deeper in some ways, more detached in others. We feel affection across centuries, but we don't experience the urgency, the passion that makes human love so intense. The weight of the choice settled on me like a lead blanket. Live as something alien, potentially losing the very humanity that made me love her so desperately. Or die as myself, leaving her to grieve alone for the next 500 years. There's a third option, Dr. Reese said quietly. We both turned to her. Experimental treatment. New technique we've been developing for cases like yours. It might buy you 5, maybe 10 more years. Still human. Still yourself. But still dying, I said. Still dying, she confirmed. But on your own terms. Zephyra's hand found mine, her touch electric with our shared bond. Whatever you choose, she said. Choose for yourself, not for me. I chose to remain human. The decision shattered something in Zephyra's spirit that I felt through our bond. A cosmic grief that transcended individual loss. Among her people, a bonded mate's death meant spiritual amputation, a wound that scarred the survivor's soul across centuries. But I also felt her relief. The experimental treatment Dr. Reese administered was brutal. Targeted radiation that felt like fire in my veins, followed by cellular regeneration therapy that left me weak and nauseous for days. But it worked, at least temporarily. The tumor shrank, the seizures stopped, and for a brief, shining moment, I almost felt normal again. 7 years, Dr. Reese told us privately. That's the best-case scenario. The treatment can only be administered twice before your body rejects it entirely. 7 years. A heartbeat in Kaelthani terms, but a lifetime for us. We could return to Kael'thos, Zephyra suggested one evening as we watched the stars will overhead. My people have accepted our bond. You would be honored as my mate, given every comfort we can provide, and watch you prepare for my death every single day? She flinched at my bluntness, but I felt her understanding through our mental link. Or we could go to Earth, I continued, live as normally as we can. Pretend we're just another couple dealing with a terminal diagnosis. Would your people accept me? I thought of Earth's xenophobia, the protests against alien integration, the fear that non-human influences would corrupt humanity's genetic purity. Some would, I said. The ones who matter. We made our choice that night, holding each other as the ship carried us toward Earth and an uncertain future. We bought a small house in the mountains of Colorado, far from the diplomatic corps and the weight of interspecies politics. Zephyra adapted to human customs with grace, though she never fully understood our obsession with material possessions or our need to compartmentalize time into arbitrary units. Humans live in fragments, she observed one morning, watching me check my phone for the third time during breakfast, always rushing toward the next moment instead of inhabiting the current one. Her people experience time as a flowing river, each moment connected to the next in an eternal stream. My species lived in discrete packets, minutes, hours, days, always conscious of what was ending, what was beginning. Show me how Kaelthani experienced time, I said. She took my hands, her ridges glowing softly, and suddenly I felt it, the vast, unhurried flow of existence. Past and future became fluid concepts, no more fixed than the weather. The cancer in my brain was just another current in the stream, no more significant than rain or sunshine. For a moment, I understood how she could love someone doomed to die young. In Kaelthani perception, my death was just another transformation, another bend in time's river. But I was still human, still trapped in my linear mortality. When the moment passed, the fear returned, not of dying, but of leaving her alone.
I'm sorry, he whispered.
For what? For bonding with you, for condemning you to this pain. She pulled me close, her alien warmth surrounding me like starlight. Never apologize for love, she said. Among my people, we believe that souls choose their bonds across time and space. If we were meant to find each other, the universe would have arranged it regardless of your mortality. Even if it means centuries of grief for you, even then, the second treatment failed. I felt it happening even before Dr. Reese confirmed it, the tumor growing again, pressing against neural pathways like a malevolent presence in my skull. This time, there were no more options, no experimental procedures to try. 3 months, Dr. Reese said quietly. Maybe 6 if you're lucky. Zephyra took the news with a composure that would have seemed cold to human observers. But through our bond, I felt the magnitude of her grief. It was an ocean of sorrow vast enough to drown stars. There's something I need to tell you, she said as we drove home through the mountains. About Kaelthani bonding. About what happens when one mate dies. I braced myself for more cosmic revelations. We don't just grieve, she continued. The bond itself, it doesn't end with death. Part of your consciousness will remain with me, woven into my neural patterns. I'll carry pieces of your memories, your thoughts, your love, forever, forever. The word hung between us like a promise and a curse. So in a way, I said slowly, we really are mated for life, just not the life I expected. She smiled then, the first genuine smile I'd seen from her since the diagnosis. Her ridges blazed with bittersweet joy. When you die, she whispered, I'll take you home to Kael'thos. Your consciousness will touch the twin suns, feel the stellar winds that shaped my people. You'll exist in our dimensional space, not as Kaelthani, but as yourself, uniquely, eternally human. I thought of my sister Sarah, who'd finally called last week to say goodbye, of Dr. Reese, who'd fought so hard to save me, of Earth, spinning blue and precious in the cosmic dark. Will I remember all this? This life? This love? Every moment, Zephyra promised. Love transcends species, Marcus. Transcends death. Her species may mate for life, but what we have, what we've built together, this is eternal. I took her hand as we pulled into our driveway, feeling our bond pulse with shared determination. 3 months or 6, we would make them count. And after that, we would have forever, not as human and Kaelthani, but as 2 souls who found each other across the vastness of space and refused to let go. In the end, maybe that was enough. Maybe that was everything.